Something I barely talked about in my retrospective on the 1998 Godzilla movie was the soundtrack. Sure, I mentioned the score and how much I adored it, but the soundtrack was a huge deal when it first came out. Recently, I decided to give it a listen after all these years because, frankly, it had been a while. And that's when I had the realization that this has aged horribly. That is a music video where P. Diddy raps to Godzilla, but don't worry, we'll get into it. The soundtrack to Godzilla 1998 encapsulates the late 90s, where everything was bombastic and marketing ruled entertainment. This was built up to sell as many CDs as possible, but also to prop up the film's very bloated budget. Godzilla the album felt like a maximalist attempt to consolidate every dominant trend in music at the time, with contributions from Rage Against the Machine, Jamiroquai, Foo Fighters, and P. Diddy. It brought together rap rock, alternative angst, and mainstream spectacle under one roof, and it was an instant commercial success, riding high on the strength of star power and nostalgia. But in the decades since, the cracks in its foundation have widened, exposing the hollow motivations behind its creation. At the core of Godzilla the album is P. Diddy's Come With Me, a centerpiece as calculated as the film itself. Built around Jimmy Page's iconic riff from Led Zeppelin's Kashmir, the track promised to be a generational anthem, but now it feels like the epitome of style over substance. Diddy's aggressive delivery strains under the weight of its own self-seriousness, attempting to outdo the grandeur of its source material without fully understanding it. Come with me. The track was everywhere in 1998, on the radio, MTV, and even in the film's bombastic marketing campaigns, but its staying power hasn't endured. But the reasons for this go beyond the music itself. Diddy's recent legal troubles with allegations of abuse and manipulation cast an unavoidable shadow over Come With Me, and by extension, the entire album. For those that are completely unaware somehow, Sean P. Diddy Combs currently faces multiple serious allegations including sexual assault, sex trafficking, physical abuse, which spans over 30 years. Countless celebrities like LeBron James, Jay-Z, and Meek Mill have been allegedly associated to some degree, though that is just purely speculation at this point and no charges have been filed. For a while throughout Hollywood, there's been this running gag that there ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
There are some clips going around that look really bad now that the general public understands what was going on at these Diddy parties.
No, I mean the after party.
No, I know about them.
Getting back to Diddy himself, the claims against him come from over 120 individuals, some involving minors and incidents at industry events and, of course, private parties. The accusations describe coercion, drugging, and abusive behavior. Notable cases include a lawsuit by singer Cassie alleging a decade of abuse, which was settled in 2023. Combs is currently incarcerated after being indicted on several trafficking charges, with his trial set for 2025. This entire controversy has become a meme of sorts, and while I do think it's perfectly fine to laugh at Diddy jokes, you gotta remember that real people have been harmed by this monster, and I genuinely hope that they get their justice through the legal process. Ironically enough though, Come With Me features not one, but two sex pests. Yes, that's right. Jimmy Page, the guitarist of Led Zeppelin, is also featured on this track, and his allegations primarily stem from his relationship with Lori Maddox, an underage girl at the time in the 1970s. Maddox was part of the so-called baby groupie scene in Los Angeles, which involved young teenage girls socializing with and sometimes forming relationships with rock stars. Maddox, who was 14 or 15 when she first encountered Page, has spoken in interviews about how Page pursued her, allegedly having a romantic relationship with her while she was still underage. I'm sure some people in the comments are going to try and defend this by saying it was a different time back then, but no. It's disgusting regardless of whatever year it happened. Even Jimmy Page himself knew it was wrong at the time because he reportedly went to great lengths to keep this relationship a secret. While Maddox has recounted the relationship in a way that suggests she was enamored with Page and does not describe it as exploitative, this does not negate the inherent power imbalance and ethical issues surrounding an adult's relationship with a minor. You can still like Led Zeppelin, but Jimmy Page was a piece of shit. Getting back to the album itself now, Come With Me, the song, it's bombast. It was entertaining, but now it just feels uneasy to listen to in light of all these revelations. It's difficult to revisit the song without hearing echoes of the broader cultural issues tied to both P. Diddy and Jimmy Page.
Diddy, come on out.
Beyond Diddy, the album's other contributions are an uneven mix of brilliance and pure filler. Rage Against the Machine's No Shelter stands out as a rare moment of sincerity. Its sharp critique of media distractions and consumer culture cuts through the glossy production. It's one of the only tracks that really engages with the culture of the late 90s, rather than feeding into it. Meanwhile, Jamiroquai's Deeper Underground embraces its theatricality, leaning into funk and groove to create something that still feels vibrant today. Other tracks like Foo Fighters' A320 and Green Day's Brain Stew feel like afterthoughts. The Foo Fighters deliver a solid but forgettable entry that lacks the urgency of their best work. Again, it just kind of feels like a B-side. While Green Day's remix of Brain Stew adds a layer of novelty without enhancing the original much. These tracks are fine in isolation, but when viewed as part of the larger project, they feel more like padding than essential contributions. The Wallflowers cover of David Bowie's Heroes occupies an odd space. While competently performed, it's almost too reverent to leave a lasting impact. Bowie's original exudes raw emotion and rebellion, but the Wallflowers just play it safe, delivering a version that's polished but unremarkable. It reflects the album's broader issue, a lack of risk-taking that leaves even its better tracks feeling muted. Ironic because the '98 Godzilla movie took a lot of risks. They didn't really pay off, but they were risks regardless. I still like this take on Heroes, even if it does feel pointless and generic. Like, I'm never gonna go, I really want to listen to the Wallflowers version and not the David Bowie version. Godzilla the album is a relic of its time, a cultural artifact born of excess and corporate synergy. Its commercial success ensured its visibility, but its substance, or lack thereof, has ensured its gradual fade into obscurity. Now, it's just a CD that you find at a thrift store for 50 cents. In trying to reflect the scale of the film it was tied to, the soundtrack succumbed to the same weakness: an over-reliance on spectacle, a lack of cohesion, and a refusal to engage with its material in a meaningful way. It still remains as an interesting listen, but only as a reminder of what happens when art becomes subservient to marketing. Now, with the reputational damage caused by one of its most prominent figures, revisiting it feels less like nostalgia and more like that one selfie from the Oscars that has just honestly aged like milk. With all that out of the way, I'm Cole McCormick. You're watching Firewood Media. We've got other Godzilla videos on the channel, so go and check those out. My retrospective on Godzilla 1998 will be here on the end screen, so click on that if you're interested. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.